So the word unquestionable, guys, is actually very questionable. Like there are lots of questions that surround this word because a lot of people seem to think that unquestionable means that you shouldn't ask questions, right? And this is not what it means actually. When someone says something is unquestionable, it means that something cannot be disputed. So when someone says to you, God is unquestionable, it doesn't in any way mean that you cannot ask God questions. I've been seeing this very recently in people's comments, on people's profiles, in conversations with people. Actually, I was having one very interesting conversation with someone, and we're talking about something tragic. And then she goes, "Oh, that's very bad. It's just that we'll just take a masibi now because we cannot ask God questions." And I said, "What do you mean?" Because I honestly wanted to be sure that what I was hearing was what she meant. So I said, "What do you mean you can't ask God questions?" And she said, "You can't ask God questions." I'm like, "Why?" And she said, "Because God is all knowing." And I'm like, "Okay, isn't that the main reason why you should ask God questions? If you're saying God is all knowing, then you should ask someone who knows the answer and who knows this thing to tell you. Or would you prefer asking someone who doesn't know?" And then she was like, "No, God cannot be questioned." I said, "I get you, right? God cannot be questioned, in my understanding, is actually different from don't ask God questions." And very recently, a lot of people go by don't ask God questions. See, I don't know the God that you serve. I know the God that I serve. And this God that I serve invites us to ask him questions. And this is not about, oh, you're just saying this because some of the Bible texts or some of the Bible passages that people make reference to when they talk about not asking God questions is um text like I think this is in Isaiah where he says, "My thoughts are not your thoughts, and my ways are not your ways." That doesn't mean you shouldn't ask God questions. See, read your Bibles, right? You will find it scattered all over the Bible. How God invites you to Him, how He asks you to come to Him, how He asks you to approach Him in confidence, how He wants to have a relationship with you, how He wants to be intimate with you, how he just wants you to be with him. Now, does that sound like someone who doesn't want you asking him questions? Like, what kind of relationship is that? You know how what this reminds me of is relationships like intimate relationships, boy girl relationships, where you hear stuff like, "Oh, I'm not able to ask him questions. I can't, talk to him." In those kind of cases, one person suffers, the person ends up bitter because you're bottling a lot of stuff. In this world, as you're doing life, you have a lot of questions. You have a lot of questions daily, right? And who best to ask than the one who you said is all knowing? Or you'd rather just go and ask your friend who, before they even give you an answer, is telling you, "I not to know sha, but see what I think." That is the person you're taking counsel from. So when people say God is unquestionable, please be sure of what you mean. Please be sure of what they mean when they are telling you God cannot be questioned or God you cannot ask God questions. Try to understand what they mean, because while some people understand what this means, a lot of people just think that, oh, don't ask God questions. Please, by all means, if you have questions, ask your God. Someone recently pointed out how Job asked a lot of questions, and when God answered him, God was angry. Now, the book of Job is very interesting, right? You can read it for yourself. So, Job, you guys, I don't want to tell you the story of Job because I want to assume that you already know. So, Job suffered a lot of stuff, right? In his suffering, he talks to God, he challenges God. Read that book for yourself. Plenty calamities had befallen him, and then he was crying out, he was in source, and he was just venting. And he talks and talks and says, "Why would God do this to me? I'm righteous, I do not deserve this. People who don't even deserve to be with me or stand with me now talk to me anyhow, now avoid me because of what God has done to me. Meanwhile, I did this good, I did this good, I did this good. Why would this happen to me? God, why are you doing this to me? I am good, I am righteous. How can you do this to me?" And he goes on and on. The whole book is mainly about him talking, his friends responding, him talking until the end when God actually answered. And when God answered him, right, God said, "Oh, yeah," I paraphrase, "Oh, yeah, you that you've been talking, you, mere man, without knowledge, without knowing everything. You are challenging me. Oh yeah, come, let's settle this matter. And then God goes further to tell him how he's only but he's only but pencil in the hand of the creator, according to Wale Adenuga. So God tells him about, like, tries to educate him on how things should be done, right? Telling him how he's powerful, how Job is just human, not in those words, guys. But yes, at the end, Job realizes what he has done, apologizes for it, and repents of his self righteousness. Okay, and the most interesting thing about this book, it's not related to this unquestionable thing, but is the fact that, do you know that the so-called friends that were defending God, what God said to them is that they have not said, they have not what's the word? Basically, Job is better than you guys. You guys have not done well like my servant Job. And because of that, take some animals and go and sacrifice so that Job can pray for you because you have not done well. This same Job that questioned God, that challenged God, God still made him bless his friends and even said to them that Job, his servant, was better in the way he spoke than they are. I'm also aware that there's some Bible passages, oh, this sun is stunning. I'm also aware that some passages in the Bible remind us of how supreme God is and all that, but I have not seen to this very moment where it says, do not ask God questions. And this is not just even in the New Testament, right? From beginning, from way back. Now, let's even go all the way back. I won't go far back as before Adam sinned, because clearly we all know that there was supposed to be a relationship, right? So let's even say after Adam sinned, what happened? Now, the example that comes to mind when I think about this is the Israelites. Exactly. So our Bible tells us that God moved with the Israelites as cloud during the day and as fire, as pillar of fire during the night. Please, can you not see that even at that time, God wanted to be with his people? Does it feel like this is a God that wants to hide the face from you or wants you to hold stuff? Because if someone wants you to hold stuff from them, why are they following you around? Like, why are they not just in one place and telling you, oh, do not come here, do not come here? Another example comes to mind. In on Mount Sinai, when they got to Mount Sinai, God told Moses to warn the Israelites not to come to the mountain by force or forcibly come to the mountain, and to tell the priests that even they, the priests, have to be consecrated before they come. So it wasn't even as if God was saying, do not come. It was Moses who said, no, ha. It's like he even knew that the Israelites had coconut head. So he was like, no, 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 no. Let's put like a barricade. Let's make this place a holy place. Let them not come. And even when the Israelites heard the thunder and saw the lightning and heard the trumpet and saw the smoke, they were the ones that said, oh, Moses, we don't want to go. You go. Whatever God says to you, come and tell us, we'll listen. So it wasn't even as if God said, you guys do not come here to ask me questions. God invites you to come. Oh yeah, come. We'll reason the matter. Come to me. You also hear or you also see texts like come to me all, this one I remember, it's in Matthew. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened. And some Bible verses or some Bible, what's it called, versions will say, come to me, all you who labor and are overladen, and I'll give you rest. He calls us to come to him if you have any burden. Now, if you have a burden filled with questions, go to him and drop your burden at his feet. That is what he's calling you to do. Do not bottle it up and say, oh, I cannot ask God questions because he's supreme, he's all-knowing, his ways are not my ways. Fine, his ways are not your, see, his ways can never be your ways. So you know it's not your mate. We know it's not our mate, but in no way does it mean we can't ask him questions. How would you know if you don't ask? How would you know if you don't search? Right? So these things are there. The same Bible that you're reading and saying God is unquestionable, it's the same Bible that is telling you, come. Every day it calls out to you. Come, oh, come with your questions, come with your worries. Come, 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 come. Those who worship him have to worship God in spirit and in truth. I'm thinking about it now. How do you worship someone in truth when you can't ask the person questions? How do you worship someone in truth if you have a lot of questions that you're bottling in? How are you honest? How is there truth in you if you cannot even ask the person that you, or you tell the person what is bothering you. It's important that you know how to approach God, how to ask your questions. If you're genuinely looking for answers, you can take it to God. I saw something on social media. So there was this interview, they were interviewing this guy about how he responds. I'll tell you guys how this story matter. How he responds to the comments on his social media page. And he said there's just one way he responds. So when people ask him questions, he can almost tell if you're asking genuinely because of how the question comes around or comes to him, or how he perceives this question, or if there's condemnation, if there's challenge in that question. So some people ask questions trying to prove you wrong. Some people ask questions with sarcasm. Now, if you ask him those kind of questions and he senses that you genuinely need an answer or want an answer, or you're seeking an answer, he will respond to you. But if he feels like you're just here to challenge him, his choices, him choosing God, his religion, and all that, then he's going to ignore you. And I'm relating this to what we're talking about. When you approach God and you genuinely want to know, right, there's a high possibility that you will get answers, right? The reason I'm saying high possibility, high probability actually, that you get answers to your question, because you genuinely want to know. Again, how you get this answer might be different, right? It might not be when you want it might not be how you want it, but by all means ask your questions. But if you go asking, you're challenging, you're finding faults, you're saying, oh, you did this, you shouldn't have done this to me, that's a different thing. It's also it will also be wrong of me to not acknowledge the fact that sometimes you're just in a bad place, you're just so worried, you're just downcast, your emotions are all over the place, and then you can go to God asking questions anyhow. God knows, because I mean, He knows your heart. He sees your heart. So the state of mind that you're in is not hidden from God. God knows the intent even before you open your mouth to ask it. God knows what you're trying to do even before you ask, even before you do it. He knows where you're driving at even before the words leave your mouth or you conceive it in your heart. He already knows. So let's just have that in mind. Again, this whole talk, I think I've spoken for quite a long time, but this is just to dispute that God cannot be asked questions. Please, 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 by all means, ask God questions, because it's in asking that you know. It's in knowledge. It's in seeking knowledge that you find. When you seek, you find. Thank you guys for spending time with me and listening to my talk this afternoon. I do appreciate. If you have not joined the family, please do so by clicking on the subscribe button. Like this video if you like it, and then share with loved ones if you think it will be helpful to them. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, bye guys.